Hello and welcome to another bad comic review. This time we are looking at the Avengers issue 1. This is the 2018 series, not the original. It's by Jason Aaron, Ed McGuinness on art. Inks by Mark Morales. Color artist was Dave Carell. Letterer VC's Corey Petit. And the book starts off with that stupid Earth 1 million or Avengers 1 million nonsense that they dragged out in Marvel Legacy, and it was dumb. Well, it's still dumb, and it's kind of boring too, because it's got that, oh, what if we took a bunch of older characters like Odin and the Phoenix and a Hulk-like Starbrand and just threw them together as a team, and all these guys existed 1,000,000 years ago. It's so dumb. The Black Panther line is 1,000,000 years old. Iron Fist line is 1,000,000 years old. The first Sorcerer Supreme, Agamotto, is 1,000,000 years old. This Hulk-like creature that grunts is 1,000,000 years old. So they've always been around. It's circles around. I'm surprised there wasn't a 1,000,000-year-old Captain America. Seriously, there's a Ghost Rider that rides a mammoth. Okay, that was kind of neat, I'm not gonna lie. The rest was stupid. Really, really stupid. Alright, so in Marvel Legacy, they had found a Celestial that may or may not have been dead. And this time, apparently some other Celestials are coming, and it is called the First Celestial Host. And I'm guessing what they're trying to build to is that there have been these incursions of Celestials over the course of that 1,000,000 years. I don't know why the Phoenix is on Earth at this point. They don't explain any of it. There's just these weird, like, homunculus creatures trying to steal the booze that I guess are supposed to be humans. It's really dumb. Then we go to Earth now, where a weirdly drawn Tony Stark is having drinks with Captain America and Thor. Thor is apparently still unworthy and unable to lift Mjolnir anymore, and he has like a cybernetic arm or something. I don't know what that's all about. I haven't been reading Thor because it's crap, and Girl Thor was really annoying, so I haven't read any of the unworthy Thor either. So apparently he's still unworthy to lift his hammer, which is dumb. And they make some tee-hee jokes, and they reference Hydra Cap, Coma Tony, and unworthy Thor, and they kind of poke fun, saying that they're not as special as they used to be and they should let other people do it. And they said, we tried that, but it didn't work. Yeah, why don't you just whip your wang out and slap your readers in the face some more, Marvel? What they should have done was just glossed over all of that and say, hey, we're getting the band back together. No explanations. Just pretend a lot of this crap didn't happen. You know why? Because it was stupid. And that's why your sales are in the toilet, Marvel. Stop with the self-reflecting humor. First of all, none of us find it funny. We find it insulting. And second of all, people that do find it funny don't buy your books. Alright, so Thor's like, yeah, it's gotta be us because we all need this. We're awesome. And then Tony has a little manga spurg out moment. And he's got this stupid AI thing called Motherboard that's got that cutesy tee-hee humor to it. Oh, sorry to be the sort of AI that interrupts your angry soliloquies, Mr. Stark, but I'm afraid I have some rather alarming news. Look, stop with the hipster stupidity, okay? It's not cute. It's not funny. That's stuff that, like, 12-year-olds don't even find funny. It's just sad. It's kind of try-hard. And stop, okay? Just stop with it. Treat us like adults. Write a decent story. Your average readership is in their 30s and 40s. Stop, okay? You're not funny, people. And get some funny writers if you're gonna try and be funny. Alright, so there's some sort of problem. Then down in the plains of Africa, T'Challa and Doctor Strange are investigating, and they find these weird, stupid symbols from the stupid 1,000,000-year BC crap. And they're investigating where the dead Celestial was that may or may not have been dead. And then Robbie Reyes, the new Ghost Rider, he's having problems with his car acting up, and they refer once again to that stupid Marvel Legacy issue. And then, of course, She-Hulk has to get catcalled by some dirty-looking white dude because all white men are evil. Carol Danvers is in space, and there's an anomaly there with that outside that stupid Alpha Flight space station. Such a waste of Alpha Flight. And of course something's coming through, and everybody's getting called out there, and there's like some alien xenopods down in the center of the Earth. I don't know, they're probably face huggers. And giant roachy monsters attack Ghost Rider, and he transforms, and he looks kind of dumb. And then a dead Celestial's on the ground by the Hudson. Thankfully, Carol was able to maneuver it so it didn't hit Times Square. I actually liked most of Carol Danvers in this. She was actually heroic, doing stuff, and didn't sound like a complete sociopathic fascist like she usually sounds. So these dead Celestials start crashing all over the place. They go up to try and stop the bodies from crushing everything because they weigh several tons. And then the final host shows up, and it's a bunch more Celestials, from what I could tell. I don't know. And then Captain America has to yell, "Avengers assemble," and we got it to be continued. Alright, so, thoughts and opinions, because this is a review. The art is incredibly hit and miss. For one thing, I'm not a huge fan of Ed McGuinness. I think his art style is way too manga-ish, and it looks like something a 5th grader with no idea of proportionality would draw. Like on the cover, She-Hulk looks like she's got the downs and is, I don't know, about to explode. Carol Danvers looks okay, actually. Thor looks pretty decent, but people's faces all look weird. I really don't like that manga crap. The Celestials look really cool, actually. I'll give them credit on that. A lot of the skylines look like they're traced photos. Kind of lazy, in my opinion. Robbie Reyes looked okay most of the time. When he's in Ghost Rider form, it looked like he had like a weird hair accident from the 80s. Otherwise, he looked okay, but the Celestials were the highlight, and Carol Danvers not acting like a space Nazi was probably the best parts. Otherwise, the storyline's pretty mediocre. There's little inserts of the typical lowbrow humor, the tee-hee moments, especially with that stupid motherboard AI and the self-referentials to Marvel Comics giving us garbage storylines, which apparently they think is funny. They think it's funny to insult our intelligence repeatedly, to say, well, we tried something different and it's on you that you didn't like it. That's how it comes off to me. It seems very condescending to the audience that just wants to see some decent heroic action, and there was a lot of pointless talking in here. A little bit of validation between the Avengers, because apparently they all have to have a little therapy session before they can go back into action. And then the whole BC 1 million Avengers nonsense is just dumb. I thought it was a gimmick where they were going to do like a mini series and then just ignore that it ever happened, but no. And what really annoyed me was this is an issue 1. It does have the legacy numbering, so it's technically 691, but it says number 1 on the cover, and they don't really bring you up to speed on the characters themselves. If they had cut out all the pointless talking about how they, I don't know if we should get the band back together. I'm very insecure. If they had just introduced the characters about 5 pages later, it would have been more interesting. They did a good job of saying their names, but not really what's going on in the universe. I felt like there was a lot missing, that if you haven't been reading their garbage tier single titles, that you would be really lost on what's going on and who these people are. Like, Thor's still unworthy, so what's the point? Captain America's out of uniform for most of the issue. They don't really gear up until the last few pages, and that I find a little insulting. There's too much peripheral stuff and not enough focus on the heroes. I don't care that She-Hulk is spazzing out on some rando guy that starts catcalling her. That it's a waste of an entire page. It should be they should have started with Miss Marvel, or Captain Marvel now, I guess, dealing with the Celestial coming through this vortex. Start it there, and then talk about T'Challa and Doctor Strange in the tunnels, and they could have gutted about half of that storyline. And the whole thing with Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man in the bar was just a waste of space. They could have done that in 1 page. But like, these 3 guys are hanging out together at the bar when they get the call. That would have been more interesting. And maybe when the creatures started attacking Doctor Strange and T'Challa, can't talk, then introduce Ghost Rider where they're attacking him too. And then we got the dead Celestial and stuff like that. That would have been more interesting. That would have actually eliminated a little over half of this book. And this was $5. I feel kind of cheated on the price. The story, the very core concept was okay. A bunch of Celestials raining down. Alright, that's pretty interesting. Overall, I didn't think it was worth $5. It wasn't inspiring me to pick up more, and I don't think that this is a good number 1. There's very little fill-in. There's no caption boxes at the beginning saying who these people are. There's no like introduction blurbs. It just kind of tumbles into a situation and throws you in from there. And again, the 1 million BC thing was just garbage. I'm not impressed with this. I think it's a lazy effort. I've heard Jason Aaron's really good. I don't see it here. I think he did Carol Danvers well. I thought Ed McGuinness did a real good job on the Celestials, but the rest of the art is at best mediocre, and that's what his art has always been for me, is on a good day, mediocre. More often than not, it's pretty low tier. Think he tried here, I just don't like his style. I'm not going to recommend this on Can't Bring Myself to Do It. It's a very forgettable issue, except for like the last 6 pages. I would say the last 6, maybe 10 pages are relatively interesting, but beyond that, it's really not worth $5. And if this is Marvel's idea of a fresh start, then, well, I'm probably not going to stick with it real long. But I'll check out issue 2 and maybe issue 3, but if it doesn't improve, I'm going to drop yet another Marvel title, because Marvel is just, they're really, really diving into the dumpster. And the paper quality is slightly better. The cover paper is anyway. The interior paper is still pretty garbagey. Still got some ink on my fingers, a couple of fingerprints inside the issue, but at least the cover was much better quality than usual. And it better be for $5. This is just not worth $5. Get it on the discount rack. Don't spend $5 for it. It's not worth it. But that's my take. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, be sure and hit like. If you like what we do here, be sure and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss any episodes. And hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at The Avengers, Issue 2, Legacy number 692. This is written by Jason Aaron with art by Ed McGuinness, inks by Mark Morales with Jay Lestine, color artist Dave Carell, letterer VC's Corey Petit, and this more or less picks up where we left off with the Celestials plummeting to the Earth and the large, scary final host of them looming menacingly above. Now, we've got a lot of narration, and at first I wasn't sure who was narrating. I figured it out fairly quickly, but the problem was that it doesn't sound like Loki. He uses the phrase super tools. No Asgardian's gonna talk like that. They talk all Norsey and old-timey. They're not gonna use new phrases like that. He might say super fools, but I don't think he would use the word tools. So anyway, there's this like hipster Loki tone through the whole thing, and then we have Ghost Rider beating on some bugs. She-Hulk talks to the Celestial for a second and turns into the Hulk, and she's brainless Hulk. Hulk squish. And now she's like gross looking girl Hulk, like she looks like a steroid wrestler and has like really weird looking boobs. So she's not the attractive, smart, regular She-Hulk that we knew in the 80s. Now she's some half-wit degenerate that looks like she has a steroid problem and possibly is a man. I'm not sure. Well, they try everything they can to tap into these final host guys, but they're just sort of gnats to them. And then we have this awful dialogue where Hulk not afraid of bed bugs, Hulk from Brooklyn, Hulk not afraid of anything. Yeah, okay. So Hulk has special needs. And then she meets Ghost Rider, and they have a little confrontation. Meanwhile, nothing is really getting done about these things. They're killing some bugs together after Hulk decides to try and smash Ghost Rider, and that doesn't really work. Then the one Celestial gets up to help, because it's not really dead. And we learn that She-Hulk hates Ghost Rider because he's not a Hulk. That's dumb. And then Loki shows up at the end there, and when it looks like everything's going pretty horribly, and that Celestial that jumped up to help them gets its head ripped off. I don't like the new way Loki looks. They're trying to make him look like a hipster version of Tom Hiddleston, and he just looks really stupid. So I'm not sure what that's all about, but it looks really dumb. This issue, the plot was good. The dialogue was atrocious for most of it, especially She-Hulk. They really dumbed her down. She used to be a really smart, sexy character, you know, she looked like a woman. Now she looks like some sexually androgynous transvestite that you meet outside of a bar at 4 a.m. and you're like, whoa, what happened here? That's what that looks like. And I'm not a big fan of Ed McGuinness's art to begin with. It works occasionally, like Iron Man looks pretty good, but man, it's so hit and miss. I'm not a huge fan of Jason Aaron so far on this book anyway. Like I said, the plot's okay, but the dialogue is just too distracting. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a bold stance and say I'm not recommending this. And again, ink comes off on my fingers. Marvel, figure figure out how a printer works. Are you buying this stuff on bulk rate from like Chan's backyard? Like, who is printing this stuff? It is atrociously crappy paper. They gave us a good cover on the last one, then they cheap out. This is not $4 good. This is interior paper. It is garbage, and the ink is just bleeding onto my fingers, and I don't want to leave fingerprints on my comic. So yeah, I would not recommend this one. I thought it was kind of a miss. Pretty close though. If the dialogue had been better and Loki didn't sound like he was trying really hard to be cool with the kids in a sort of creepy uncle way, then I probably would have recommended it. But nope, I'm gonna say pass on this one. I'm not impressed with the pseudo hipster intellectualism that's going on here. It's just lazy writing. But that'll do it for me. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel, and we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at The Avengers, Issue 3, Legacy number 693. Now this is written by Jason Aaron with Paco Medina and Ed McGuinness. Colorist was David Carell. Letters was VC's Corey Petit. Now I'm not a fan of Ed McGuinness's art style. I think it's very cartoonish and I don't like it. I think it's lazy looking. It looks very high school art class. Right away I kind of have a little bit of a biased against it on that front. It wasn't as awful this issue. It was still pretty bad most of the time, but alright, so we've got Ghost Rider and a really dumb She-Hulk for whatever reason kinda teaming up, and they jump down and drive into the center of the earth. Then in New York City, Loki is working over the Avengers, and Captain America decides to try and sacrifice himself to take out the Celestials and put them into the sun, which was actually really cool, very brave, very heroic, and it actually had a pretty legitimately good reaction. And then Doctor Strange is trying out his comedy routine with Black Panther at the center of the earth, and Ghost Rider and She-Hulk show up, and there's a battle. We don't see it though. That they don't bother to show us that. Then Captain America wakes up inside of the sun, and the Celestials are unharmed, but Loki saved Cap's life for some reason and kind of lectures him a little bit. Meanwhile, Captain Marvel and Iron Man get into it when Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange show up with T'Challa and She-Hulk, and they find out that there is a problem at the North Pole, and a lot of people just sort of split up and go into pairs. Thor and She-Hulk go up to Old Asgard, and Doctor Strange takes off with Iron Man. T'Challa goes with Captain Marvel, and Ghost Rider's just kind of left to his own devices, so he makes his car sniff out the Celestials. And we discover that there is a Celestial buried in the snow. So they split up until next issue, I guess. The story itself was really good, but some of the dialogue was atrocious. Jason Aaron is not funny. I'm sorry. If I was like 15, I would probably find some of the jokes funny, but it's very out of character for a lot of the people that were cracking jokes, and they were just kind of inappropriate places for jokes, I thought. But overall, the core story was good. I would recommend this issue. It was one of the better Avengers issues I've read in a long time. It was way better than anything from the No Surrender storyline. So I'd say it was worth the $4 overall. I don't like the art style. I think Loki looks absolutely ludicrous, like some sort of bad 90s hipster rock star. He looks like that Townsend actor that was in Queen of the Damned with Aaliyah, and he looks like that guy, only a little slightly gothier and more navel gazing, and like the kind of guy that might roofie a girl. So yeah, overall I thought it was a good story. The art's garbage though, and the jokes aren't funny. If you can get past that, the core plot was pretty good. I'm actually looking forward to issue 4. I wish they would stop trying to insert jokes in everything. Stop Disney channeling it up. It doesn't work. Anyway, I would say this one's a recommend. So that's gonna do it for this episode. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. Be sure and hit like and subscribe. Consider throwing me $1 or more on Patreon so I can do more reviews, and we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at the Avengers issue 4, legacy number 694. This is the fourth part of this bizarre storyline with the final host of Celestials and the Avengers 1 million or whatever. So this one is written by Jason Aaron with art by Paco Medina and Ed McGuinness. Anchor was Juan Velasco with Mark Morales. Colorist was Dave Carell. Letter was VC Corey's Petit. We're in Asgard with Thor and She-Hulk, and they're demanding Odin tell them a tale of woe and blah blah blah. Lots of talking. We learn about how much he loved those pathetic little humans that he did battle with a million years ago, and he uses the word literally, which is kind of weird because he uses it like modern millennials do, not like normal people use it. So Odin talks funny in this. It's kind of annoying. When Thor asks if there's anything hidden around that might be useful to him that can help them fight the final host, and he's like, well, it could end the world or save it. Well, that's helpful. Look, old man, just give me something I can use. But Odin's trying to be all mysterious or whatever, so there's a door with two crappy little chains on it. Thor's trying to ask what's behind the door, and She-Hulk just rips the door off and they blunder right in. Meanwhile, Stark and Strange are up on the mountains of Greece in Olympia, home of the Eternals. And the Eternals are all laying around being dead or whatever. And they find Icarus. Doctor Strange really just stands around while there's talking. There's so much talking in this book. And Icarus isn't quite dead, so he gives them a little heads up as to what's going on. And it turns out that there's some shenanigans. Apparently humanity was a mistake or something. Meanwhile, T'Challa and Captain Marvel are on the space station talking about giant insects. Captain America's talking to Loki at the North Pole, explaining way too much about what's going on and telling them that humanity was a mistake, and Ghost Rider's on his way to help out, I guess, and his car can go underwater or whatever, nothing matters. And then Thor and She-Hulk are still in this frozen chamber looking at something called the Blood of Ymir. Even though nobody mentioned the name of it, somehow Thor knows what it is. It's the first of the Ice Colossi, father of all giants, and it's just this like egg-shaped thing. Well, Thor succumbs to the cold and She-Hulk warms him up with a kiss? I don't get what that's about, but okay. He looks like he's kissing the Hulk, like the regular Hulk, not She-Hulk, because there's these giant man hands on the side of his face. So if you wanted him to make out with the Hulk, just say it, okay? I don't know why She-Hulk's so dumb in this. She's not supposed to be that dumb normally. Anyway, we learn a little bit more about what's going on. It's really trite. We learn that Doctor Strange and Iron Man are on their way back. Captain America's still hostage. And we learn that apparently a million years ago, the Avengers of 1 million BC lost to the Celestials. At the end of the issue, it looks like Odin and his friends lost to the Celestials. And he may or may not have had some kind of quasi-romantic relationship with the Phoenix. I don't know. This issue was okay. It was so much talking, though. There's these giant paragraphs of jibber jabber that really they're trying to over explain way too much. And it was kind of annoying. And they did mention the Unimind, so we'll see. I don't know. I wasn't really into this issue. I thought it was a little boring. I'm tired of She-Hulk being stupid and looking like the Hulk with long hair. But the art was overall pretty good, actually. I don't like Ed McGuinness' style, but this was definitely a lot cleaner than some of his other work. He really needs to learn how to draw the human jaw and mouth, though. The art was probably the best part, which is sad, because like I said, I don't like Ed McGuinness' work all that much, but he actually did pretty good on this one, and I think that's why I think Paco Medina, I think he actually did some of the art. But yeah, overall, it was forgettable. The team lineup is fine. They're just not really acting like that team, those characters. They're like some weird millennial version of it, and I really hate this Avengers 1 million nonsense. It's really dumb. I personally am losing interest interest in this storyline. They need to kind of get it going and wrap it up. It feels like a lot happened without actually anything really happening. Like they were trying to make it look like stuff was happening when all it was a bunch of talking. So this was a miss for me, but if you're a completionist, you'll probably want to pick it up. I think it could have been a much better issue, and I'm really disappointed by this book. It's just so mediocre. And the paper quality is still garbage. So that being said, I'm not going to recommend this. I was bored. Afterward, I was like, did I read a comic book? I don't even know, because it felt like I was reading a short story that had pictures. But that'll do it for me. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss a future episode. And we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Avengers issue 5, legacy number 695. This is written by Jason Aaron with Paco Medina and Ed McGuinness. Inkers Juan Velasco with Mark Morales and Carl Story. Color art by David Kirell. Letterer was VC's Corey Pettit. Associate editor Alana Smith. Editor Tom Brevoort. Now we learn a little bit more about the origins of mankind from Loki in this story, so take that for what it's worth. But according to this, we're all a bunch of descendants from an infected celestial who bled into the primordial magma and puked up his guts and created life on Earth because he was infected with these locusts from space. While Captain America is underwater hearing this from Loki, we learn a little bit more about the Celestials. The other Avengers are busy doing various things, but Ghost Rider shows up to rescue Cap, and they end up in what appears to be Russia or some Nordic country when they catch up with the others. Ghost Rider's having a lot of self-doubt because he's still a very new hero. Some of the Avengers managed to get supersized, so we're gonna get like a old-fashioned showdown Power Ranger style with a bunch of giant people, including a really stupidly big Iron Man outfit. Overall, the story wasn't too bad. It was okay. The dialogue needs some tweaking. That's my main complaint. They all kind of talk out of character sometimes, especially Doctor Strange. He comes off as very goofy and silly sometimes. But overall, this actually was a pretty fun issue. I was impressed with it. I didn't hate it. The art is pretty solid in this issue. It's definitely better than previous issues. I still don't like some of McGuinness's art, but he can really draw the Celestials very, very well. So those scenes were all really awesome, and the scenery looks fine. It's just occasionally She-Hulk looks goofy, and like the faces especially, not really a strong point, but this is definitely better art than previous issues because there's a lot more of the Celestials. It looked really cool. The storyline is just kind of average. I didn't hate it, but it's definitely improved significantly from the previous issues. It's just not really a story that I'm super interested in, but I'm gonna give it some more chances. I actually thought that this was a pretty decent issue, and I didn't feel overly ripped off except for the fact that the paper quality is the usual garbage. But I wish they would get the characters back in line with how they're traditionally portrayed, because I don't particularly like the portrayal here in this series. I'm not a huge Jason Aaron fan. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people are, but I find him to be a little bit of a hack. But this is definitely an improvement over the previous 4 issues. So hopefully they'll pick up with that and keep the ball rolling in a good direction. But we'll find out next issue. It's obviously going to be the end of the trade paper. I mean the end of the story arc with the big brawl with these Celestials. So hopefully that's good, but we'll find out shortly. In the meantime, that'll do it for me. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you like the video, hit the like button and consider subscribing so you don't miss future reviews, and we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at the Avengers issue 6, legacy number 696. This is written by Jason Aaron with Ed McGuinness and Paco Medina. Inkers Mark Morales and Juan Velasco. Color artist Dave Carell. Letterer VC's Corey Pettit. Cover by Ed McGuinness, Mark Morales, and Jason Keith. Associate editor Alana Smith. Editor Tom Brevoort. Now we get a little bit of ideas of what's going on with some of the other superheroes around. We see them in one panel things while the giant Avengers are having this big Ultraman style fight scene with some final host Celestials, and we are reminded that humanity is all the product of vomit and primordial sludge. repeatedly. Well, things aren't going well for the Avengers, but then they decide on how they can fight this by becoming a live virus vaccine, and they all team up in Robbie Reyes' Celestial. They begin somehow convolutedly killing the insectoids with their combined powers, and Thor and She-Hulk make out again. And this time they're able to clean out the regular Celestials, but the final host are still infected. They're too infected, so they can't do anything about that. But it looks like the Avengers may have won the day for now. And it looks like this storyline is effectively wrapped up. It was an okay issue. Doctor Strange is still really out of character. They're trying to make everybody funny or silly, and it really doesn't work. If this had been a much more serious book, it would have been a lot better. But it's an okay read. Did I feel like it was worth my $4? No. Cover's really good, except for She-Hulk's face. Captain America looks pretty cool. Black Panther and Iron Man look good in this, and the Celestials look great. I would actually like to see Ed McGuinness draw the New Gods books, because he has a very Kirby-esque style, and I think that would translate well. Or Galactus. I've never seen him draw Galactus, but I've been out of the game for a long time. So overall, it was a pretty tepid story. The whole humans are spawned from celestial vomit is stupid and really lazy and uninspired, and it's a little insulting to the fans, I think. But that's what I've come to expect from Marvel. They've got to give you some backhanded compliments because they don't like you as a fan or a reader. Probably going to drop this title. I'm not really interested in where it's going. I am starting to like McGuinness's art style more in here. I don't know if that's Medina's influence or what, but it has gotten better as the issues have gone, and he really draws Celestials very well. So I don't know where they're going with this book, but I'm rapidly losing interest, and at the price point, I'm not going to keep paying $4 for mediocre trash. If you could pick this up for $1.50 or $2, yeah, okay, it's worth it. I'm not going to buy it in trade paperback. The story's not that good. It's not memorable. It's just forgettable and mediocre. So I'm not going to recommend it unless you find it cheap. And I don't think I'm going to continue to read the Avengers. I might give it one more issue depending on how fast I can get it off my pull list, but I'm cutting a lot of Marvel out, especially because of the way that their writers and artists keep treating people online. I have no interest in supporting someone who's going to produce tepid work at best and insult me online. So that's just my take on it. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss future reviews, and we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at the Free Comic Book Day Avengers and Captain America issue. Now these are two stories in one, so you get a little bit of extra value for free. So this Avengers story we'll start with was by Jason Aaron, Sarah Pichelli, and Justin Ponzer. Sorry, I'm sure I butchered that one. Now, I do like the cover for the Avengers one and the Captain America. I thought they were both pretty cool. Then we get into the issue, and most of the story focuses around Odin talking to Black Panther. And I thought that was really interesting. It was actually really well done. And it was a fun conversation. I don't like this Avengers 1 million BC thing. I think it's really, really childish and dumb. But overall, I thought it tied in everything pretty well. And the only complaint I really had was that Loki looks really stupid. Like, really stupid. Like how one of these Tumblr kids would draw Loki. Otherwise, the art was good except for Loki. I think they're really doing a disservice to the concept of Loki by the way they're drawing him, by making him almost like a joke, a hipster joke on top of that. It's not even a funny one, just an ironic one that weirdos and idiots find funny. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good story. It was really just kind of a we need to work together kind of story. We had a little conversation with Loki in there that was pretty cool. But overall, it was really well written, I thought, and handled very well. Now, the Captain America one, on the other hand, I did have an issue with. Now, the art on Captain America is actually really good. I'm not familiar with this artist, because this is written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Pencils were by Laniel Francis Yu. Inker was Jerry Angulin. I'm sorry, I'm sure I'm getting that one wrong. And color artist was Sonny Gao. Letters by VC's Corey Petit. And The Avengers was written by Jason Aaron. Pencils by Sarah Pichelli. Inkers by Sarah Pichelli with Elizabeta D'Amico. And color artist was Jason Posner. Letter was VC's Corey Petit. So there, better late than never. Alright, so we have Captain America looking down on Hydra supporters and what are clearly Antifa pastiche. So, alt-right Nazis and Antifa. So that's dumb. There's a lot of boring stuff. Some lady who does a bunch of political rhetoric, blathering, and then we've got like some throwback shots of the Romanovs, and then I'm guessing she's Soviet because we got the Romanovs, and then we've got like some protesters with what looks like a Russian banner, and then some Russians and GIs working together. And she says, "You and I were allies once, revolutionary allies." And that looks like an obvious World War II or image to me. So I'm guessing she's Russian. And then Nuke shows up and starts mowing everyone down. That happens. And then Cap's got to fight him. That scene's drawn really well, and turns out she's got a bunch of Nuke clothes, and they keep saying "our boys." I don't know what that means. Then we've got a shot of Thaddeus Ross for some reason. Then we've got what looks like Norman Osborn looking like William H. Macy, some sort of cult, and a bunch of business guys. I don't know. This was stupid. I'm not impressed so far with what I've seen of Ta-Nehisi Coates' run. Captain America's protecting a bunch of Antifas, so I guess he's siding with them in this. I don't know what's going on here. This story didn't even have it wasn't a complete story. It was like a tease for one. So I don't really know why this was part of Free Comic Book Day. And the dialogue is really weird because the lady is saying Captain America was right because America was right, and he was good because America was good. Sounds like that weird Hillary Clinton speech. And then so much has changed. The great wars are over. What are you really captain of? Blah blah. It's all relative. I don't know what that even is supposed to mean. Somebody's trying too hard to be intellectual here, and it just comes off as kind of smug and boring. It's not a story. It's just Captain America standing around. He doesn't even talk in the entire issue. That's stupid. So I think this is actually an excerpt from the first issue. I didn't care for it. I like the art. The art was beautifully done, but it really needed a better writer. I think Ta-Nehisi Coates is somebody that tries really hard to be very intellectual sounding without actually saying anything. That's what I'm getting from this. But overall, I'm really disappointed with the Captain America story. But the Avengers one actually inspired me to pick up issue 2. So I'm going to give that one a review. I think if they do more like they did with this free issue, the regular Avengers series could actually be pretty good. Yeah, I would say if you can find this cheap, pick it up for the Avengers story. Beyond that, Captain America's story really didn't inspire anything aside from being pretty. But I would get it for the art. I wouldn't pay more than $3 or $4 for it. And honestly, I'd pay about $1 for it. If you find it for more than that, I don't think you're really getting your money's worth. But that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. Be sure and hit like and subscribe, and we hope to see you on the next one.